Welcome to the Four Visions Market Podcast, a space built on the principles of integrity and reciprocity. Together, we will engage in thought-provoking conversations about plant medicines, why these plants are coming out of the rainforests, jungles, and mountains after thousands of years, and what it means to be in right relationship with the ancestral wisdom cultures and guardians of these traditions. I'm your host, Mariah Gannessa, founder and director of Four Visions Market. This podcast is the natural evolution in our commitment to providing you, our tribe, with incredible resources to support you on your healing journey through plant medicines. Welcome home. Hola familia, many blessings, and welcome back to the Four Visions podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me today. I'm here to close out season 2 and offer some reflections on this incredible season, as well as reflections on this year as we move into the final months of the year, and some other things that are feeling present on my heart today. Thank you for being here with me and for being part of this podcast community, for whether you have listened to one or all of the episodes. I really am so grateful to get the opportunity to connect with you in this way, even though it seems like it might be one directional. I feel you whenever I record, and I connect with you, each one of you, whenever we are planning on bringing which guests we bring, or if I'm doing a solo episode. It always is so sweet to be able to communicate and connect and weave together as a community in this way. And the podcast has been such an incredible vehicle to do that. So I just want to deeply thank you from my heart for being part of our Four Visions family, our community, and for being a podcast listener. Wow, this season, 30 episodes this season was incredible and really beautiful to really just have the opportunity to have so many incredible, potent conversations. And I pray that the conversations that we have shared over the last year have really nourished your spiritual journey and been supportive to your spiritual inquiries and studies, and that you have received seeds of wisdom and inspiration throughout these episodes and these conversations. Me and my incredible team have poured tremendous amount of love and energy into crafting each one of our weekly episodes and conversations, and it's really been a labor of love. For me personally, oh my goodness, I have just been so incredibly humbled by the blessing that has been getting to connect with so many incredible people with so much tremendous wisdom and perspectives to share, to complement the Four Visions resources. And I just have felt like these conversations, each one of them has been so unique and brought so much color to this journey. And I have deeply received so much from getting to be part of them. And I hope that you have too. For me personally, I think that getting to talk with so many powerful people who come from many different paths and different journeys, but are all committed deeply to this path of spirituality and this path of nature has been very deeply nourishing for me on a personal level, as well as just eye-opening to get the opportunity to resource my community by bringing these thought leaders and incredible speakers to the forefront of our resources through the podcast, but also to resource myself and to get to hear so many different perspectives and threads and really weave together the ley lines of a greater understanding for human consciousness and evolution. And so this year on the podcast has been such an incredible journey. And as we close season 2, I'm feeling really grateful and at peace and fulfilled with this offering. Today, I really want to just close this season in a good way and thank everyone deeply for playing a part in bringing this to life and tuning in, and your support of these conversations has meant so much. And in the spirit of this time, this season that we're in, I have some reflections to share. And this is being a solo podcast. I've had it on my calendar to record this episode for a couple weeks now. And I was really just waiting for the right time where I really felt ready and inspired to record this episode, because there's an element to not having a second speaker where, I'm just speaking to you, but you can't ask me questions. That it's always really nice to just feel really connected to what is coming through and what wants to be shared. So I've been taking the last week or so to really tune into that, and a lot's been moving through as we are amidst a very potent cycle right now in the world, in the context of global events, with the recent natural disasters in the United States that have drastically changed the lives of so many people, and just really tuning into the sorrow and the collective loss and grieving process that we're going through, and really just connecting with the Earth Mother and her call to all of her children to wake up and listen to this clear message that we are getting over and over and over again. And I know so many of us have been feeling just a sense of grief and even some hopelessness amidst the repeated natural disasters that are obviously ramping up, and it can feel disheartening to just see the results of the actions of the human species, and to feel small in our efforts to change the course. And that being said, I feel like what I really want to share today is a message for hope, but in a context of some of the other elements that we are weaving with right now in this month of October. So we have the month of the ancestors, and we are approaching the season of Dia de los Muertos, Samhain, and the sacred time in which the veil thins for many cultures. And it's a time that is recognized by peoples and traditions all over the world as a time to call in the ancestors. And so I've been definitely feeling that information of the ancestral wisdom coming in really, really strongly. And then there's the other piece of the indigenous peoples. And we are right around Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm recording this a couple days before IP Day, but it'll be released a few days after IP Day. And so this intersectionality of the celebration of indigeneity and our ancestrality, those two elements are feeling really present in this map of the way forward, and the way in which we can orient towards this message and reminder of hope during these times. I mentioned the natural disasters, but of course there's so much going on between the wars that are raging in multiple parts of the world, the human suffering that is taking place as a result of genocide, and the horrors that the human species is doing to itself, and then the politics behind it for us in the West, in the US specifically, approaching a very, very strong and important election in a few weeks. And there's just so much going on. And there's so many different elements that are weaving into the collective consciousness that are contributing to this sense of grief and pain, and helplessness, and confusion. And so with that, I'd like to touch a little bit first on this prayer of connection to our ancestors as a way to resource ourselves and to nourish our spiritual bodies and our connection, to navigate these strong times that we are going through as a collective. And so with this beautiful opening and invitation of the month of October, we approach the sacred portal of ancestral connection. It's a really beautiful time to connect with our ancestors and to tend to any healing, or give any needed energy and attention to our lineages. And there's so many ways that we can do this. But one thing that has been incredibly supportive for me in my own personal journey is to resource myself with my well ancestors and to connect with them as a source for guidance, and to really utilize specifically this time of year to create the space to connect with them, to honor them, and to ask for their guidance, their counsel, their blessings. And what we can find through this process of ancestral connection is the discovery or the remembrance or the acknowledgement of the weavings of the threads of each of our own unique designs. And so one thing that has been incredibly important to me in my comprehension of this and embodiment of this connection with my ancestral inheritance is to really acknowledge and recognize that I am here carrying the torch, continuing to carry the altar that was entrusted to me and given over to me by my forefathers and my foremothers. And each one of us are here continuing to weave the threads of the tapestry of our lineage by being here and choosing to be alive and walk our lives and walk our paths at this time. And there's so much beauty to be witnessed and just revered through this beautiful process that we each go through in the human experience. And when we tend to the healing of our lineages, we are given the keys to uncover and unlock and understand the makings of who we are and why we are the way that we are. And so in my own personal healing journey, the key that really opened up the door for me to release the shackles that were binding me from my own ancestrality, meaning transform and heal the stories that weren't mine, but that I was carrying in my blood and in my bones, was this connection and healing and uncovering of my ancestral story. And so much of the spiritual journey, especially for those of us who find ourselves walking a spiritual path that includes resourcing ourselves with traditions that are not our own cultural inheritance, meaning working with different lineages or different plant medicines that come from different cultures and traditions, or whatever it might look like. But when we go outside of our own lineage to resource ourselves, what I have found in my own journey is that there's information for us in another culture's book of knowledge and wisdom that is integral and pivotal to reconnecting some threads and ley lines that were disconnected over the course of our ancestors' journeys. And so much clarity and understanding for me personally of why I'm choosing to walk the path that I'm walking was really brought to me when I started to deepen my relationship with my own cultural inheritance and my ancestors and my lineage, to have a greater understanding of what I was here to accomplish, and not in the source of accolades or achievements, but accomplish in the sense of what I came here to do. And so all of us are here seeking justice for our ancestors, in the sense of we're here to finish or continue the work that they left off. And each generation carries this torch to a certain point in the consciousness and the evolutionary journey of the lineage and the family tree. And so each new generation picks up off where the last generation left. And it's this beautiful understanding that we truly are standing on the shoulders of our grandmothers and our grandfathers, and all the ones who walked before us, whose blood and bones run through our veins and from whom we are made. And of course, being able to uncover and come to terms with the stories of our ancestors and the traumas that our ancestors endured, as well as the trauma that some of our ancestors incurred upon other peoples. All of this brings together a picture for us from which we can orient ourselves and walk forward from this place of consciousness and awareness and purpose. And so during this sacred time of the year, I have been doing a lot of offerings and connections, rituals, and work to really open this portal and revere and connect to my wise and well ancestors. And I really encourage you all to do this as well, in whatever way feels right and in whatever capacity you have. And of course, each one of our journeys in our ancestral connection looks so different, and each one of us have access to certain information or lack of information. So each person's journey in recovering their story or understanding their story feels and looks so different, but it's so much an intuitive process, because depending on what resources we have, depending on what information exists to us, we can allow ourselves to be guided by our intuition, and by simply setting that prayer to tend to our lineage and to open our hearts and our minds and our spirits to do whatever work is needing to be done, and to reconnect or do healing work or make offerings. And in this way, what we receive is so deeply profound, because there's a deep connection that's made. And one thing I'll just say is that so many of us actually don't know very much about our lineages, and that's not a barrier necessarily to being able to do this work, because the ancestors and our connection with them is so much farther and beyond the mind and the cognitive comprehension of facts or information. And so the most potent connection with our ancestors actually happens in the place of no thought, and in the connection from this world to other worlds. And so whether it be through shamanic journeying or working with plant medicines, or through profound meditation, prayer, spiritual fasting, spiritual payments, we can begin to attune to the voices of our ancestors and really be open and able to receive the messages that they are wanting to give to us, and being able to hear this wisdom deep within the depths of our beings and souls is something that each one of us have the ability to do regardless of how much material knowledge we have about our ancestors. So, this journey, while it looks different for everyone, is an incredibly important element of the spiritual path, and I believe incredibly vital during this period that we're going through as a collective, and can provide tremendous amount of support and resources and guidance and inspiration for us individually and as a collective as we navigate the intensities of the human experience during this time. One of the reasons why this journey back to our genealogical tree, the tree of life, is so incredibly insightful is it gives us the pathway to return back to nature and back to ancestral ways of living. Whether we are indigenous or not, each one of us is indigenous to the earth. And some of us have to go back many generations, others can go back fewer, more recent generations. But in this search for our origin story and in this search for discovery and reconnection with our forebearers, what we encounter is this incredible truth that all of our ancestors were connected to nature, and all of our ancestors were living in harmony with the earth. And in the spirit of this celebration of Indigenous peoples this week, I've been reflecting a lot on this and also on the differences between the Western psyche and the psyche of many traditional peoples, and just the observations that I have had over my many, many years of being in relationship with Indigenous cultures and cultures and tribes that are very much intact. And there's some really beautiful observations that I've had in this process that I would love to share and just comment on. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples all over the world in the spirit of this time and the celebration of Indigenous Peoples Day. Today and always, we honor all Indigenous peoples of the world, and we acknowledge and celebrate and thank the traditional peoples for their bravery and their sacrifice in their commitments to safeguarding the wisdom, traditions of their ancestors. Indigenous peoples of the earth have kept alive the flame of our innate connection to nature over the last hundreds of years of exploitation and destruction, fueled by the illusion of separation. It is thanks to all Indigenous peoples and ancestral cultures that the pathway to return home to our Earth Mother is clear, and that it is open for all of humanity. Wow. This is such a gift to be able to acknowledge and celebrate and have awareness of the work that the Indigenous peoples all over the world have been doing over specifically the last 500 years to keep the flame alive. And I've been really just reflecting over the last week or so on this beautiful process that is the fact that we as a collective consciousness forgot, but that the Indigenous peoples remembered, and they remembered for all of us. And they kept the flame alive and continued to tend to the fire so that all of humanity can one day remember. Because there was a time when all human beings of the earth did remember. that we were all connected to nature. There was a time that existed when we were all in harmony with life and that we honored and revered the sacredness. That story is present in every single one of our ancestral lines. And so just because we don't have indigenous blood doesn't mean that that way of living is not available to us. But there's an acknowledgement of the peoples who carry the indigenous ancestry within their bloodlines for all that they have endured and all that they have overcame, and the genocides of their peoples that they escaped because they are still here and they are still standing and they are still keeping the traditions of their peoples alive. And in doing this, they are, in fact, keeping the door open for all beings to one day remember. And I am just really humbled and inspired by this. And I think it really is the crux of why I am here doing the work that I'm doing in this life. And it's the foundation for why Four Visions exists, to really walk and support more people in returning to these ways. And it is because of indigenous peoples that these ways are even still here to be remembered, and that there are ways and tools and practices from these innate, intact traditions that can support those of us who have lost our connection to our ancestral practices and cultures. And so I just am feeling this beautiful bridging and understanding of the interconnectedness of all of it. And of course, these are my reflections and perspectives as a white, non-Indigenous person. But I think what I feel the most clear in my heart to share and to really just affirm at this time is that we are all in this together. We are not separate. And the path forward includes acknowledgement and reverence. It includes reparations, and it includes in immense intention and conviction and commitment to all of us decolonizing our minds and liberating ourselves from the indoctrination of the Western psyche. And I do want to speak a little bit about what that indoctrination truly is. But in this process, what we are doing is coming back to the way in which we always were, all of us. And we are remembering and reclaiming our birthright, all of us. Each human being has this in our birthright. We are all children of the earth, and we all have the right and the blessing and the opportunity to remember that and to live in harmony with life and nature. And that is the way home. That is what we are on this journey to remember. Wow, it's so beautiful. It's so powerful, and it's such a gift to even have this path before us, laid out for us. And it's not to say that there's not a tremendous amount of work to get there. And of course, people who are Indigenous or are connected deeply to their ancestors already and have been given the opportunity to be born into a body, into a lineage that is intact, they have a different work to do than those of us who are reclaiming and rediscovering that. but our work is intrinsically woven together. So for the indigenous peoples of the world, their journey is very much needing the rest of the human race to join them and to acknowledge, respect, celebrate, honor, and be in relationship with them. And of course, it goes without saying that we as non-Indigenous people deeply, deeply need them and the wisdom of their peoples to guide us and navigate this process that we are going through as a species. I was interviewed on a podcast last week, and I was asked about some of the key differences that I have observed in the time that I have spent with Indigenous cultures versus the Western peoples and just the Western society. And I really enjoyed being asked that question because, of course, there are so many. But as we, as a Western society, find ourselves navigating and deeply needing to address profound challenges and issues within the core design of our way of life. And it's very clear that this is not working, right? And every single day, more and more people are seeing that and naming that. And that there's a momentum there for a massive breakthrough and a massive change of course for the collective consciousness to take place. And in this process of recognizing that, this is not working, we have sickness on levels that are massively destructive for the continuation of our species. We have pain and destruction and war on levels that are causing tremendous amount of suffering. We have inequity, and we have too many people living a quality of life that is unjust. And the lack of justice that is prevailing is unveiling itself on greater and greater levels to more and more people. And so people are starting to ask big questions. And the greater collective is starting to consider that the stories and the life that we were sold might have been a lie, that it might have been a story that was given to us with ulterior motives. And just the fact that people are considering this is something to really celebrate, and it really speaks to the massive amount of change and transformation that I believe we will see in our lifetime. And so in this inquiry process, as people start to name these things that are not right and start to really make choices to educate themselves and to educate their families and to take small actions and make small choices to take their sovereignty back, to increase their consciousness, to protect their health and their well-being, and to reconnect with nature, or even if it's coming from the motive of being able to survive apocalypse or survive the events that are out of our control, desiring to get back in touch with the earth, to be more sustainable, to be able to survive on our own, or to be less dependent on the governments. All of these inquiries are incredibly vital and serve as the door widens to this path back to harmony with life and nature. And all of this said, some of the big key differences to the Western psyche and the indigenous peoples is the perspective on life and the way in which we approach life versus how traditional cultures approach life. And there are so many differences that I have witnessed and really seen throughout my studies and time spent with Indigenous peoples over the last decade of my life. But some of the things that really, stood out to me and really impacted me was the way in which Indigenous cultures view community as the foundation of the society, and that each person's well-being is important, and that we are only as healthy or well as the sum of our parts. And compared to such an individualistic society that we come from, this is a massive shift and 180 perspective change to away from the I and towards the us. And we are all capable of making that shift. We are all capable of starting to weave in community together. And one of the things that is so beautiful about this whole process of reclaiming is that the ways of living well, the way of good living is accessible to all of us, and it does run within our blood and bones, each one of us. Going back to what I was saying about how each one of us are indigenous to the earth, and how each one of us carry within our blood, no matter how many generations back, ancestors that knew this and embodied this, who knew how to work the land and steward the land and care for the land, who knew and honored the importance of protecting our waters and honoring the sacredness of water as the giver of life, who revered and celebrated the initiations of the cycle of life and gave praise and celebration to what it means to be a human and the different chapters and initiations we go through. That's one thing that we've really lost as our Western society, the ability to have these rites and initiations, whether it be from childhood to adolescence, adolescence to adulthood, into parenthood, into elderhood. We, as a Western society, have fractured our relationship to the honoring of these sacred moments and transitions, and the result of that is a pervasive loss of identity and understanding of what makes us human, and the ability to navigate the human experience in a integrated and grounded way. And so as we go reclaiming and remembering and integrating these threads of wisdom, these ways of living that hold the codes and the answers to the way forward and the way to heal, the ways to heal ourselves and to heal the earth, the way to rebuild a new society and a new culture. We can resource ourselves and work in relationship with our Indigenous brothers and sisters, because they are the ones who know. They are the ones who never forgot. They are the ones who have been tending to the altar of life throughout these many generations of destruction and harm and suffering. So beautiful to have this allyship, and it's so important for all of humanity to recognize this incredible synchronicity and neededness on both sides. We both need each other. And so to be able to really understand that and walk from that place, that is the way we find solutions to our problems. This is the path. This is what it looks like. And whether it be through studying with Indigenous wisdom keepers, or whether it be through being in right relationship with the original land keepers and the original peoples of whichever land that you live on, that you inhabit, whether it be through giving back and supporting different initiatives or projects from different groups of indigenous peoples that really speak to you or inspire you. There are so many ways to be in relationship with this sacred medicine of ancestral wisdom and to be in relationship in a good way to indigenous peoples. And I feel so strongly that this is the way that we rediscover that message of hope that we are all looking for and deeply, deeply needing. And so here in this episode today, I felt really called to just reflect on these things, these important elements as an offering to all of us as we navigate everything that is going on right now. And as we piece together the puzzle of what a solution could even look like, in my humble opinion, I believe that it is intrinsically connected to these themes that I'm sharing about. And through our prayer and a deepened commitment to a way forward and a continued devotion to the solution, and through prayer, we can continue to hold this vision alive for the collective. And as more of us do this, as more of us understand the greater complexities of what we are going through, and as more of us hold the vision of this solution and this completion of this cycle that we are in and amidst, the momentum builds for us to find our way home. So in closing, I would like to offer us a prayer that we can connect with and tune our heartstrings to in completion of these thoughts that I've shared, as well as just in upliftment of each one of us as we tend to this altar of life on behalf of all of humanity. And if you are able to be here with me in stillness and close your eyes, I welcome you to do so. If that's not possible, it's all good. But for those who want to join me in this moment, we can close our eyes together and take a deep breath, feeling the gift of life coursing through our veins, feeling the breath of life nourishing our blood and the cells of our beings, the fibers and the tissues. Feeling the blood and the bones of each of our bodies, the ancestral memory that runs through our veins. Feeling the wisdom of our ancestors coursing through our veins. I want to begin this prayer by acknowledging all of our wise and well ancestors who are here accompanying each one of us, guiding us and protecting us, praying for us, and holding the vision for each one of us to remember and awaken, holding the vision for humanity to remember and heal and return back to the way of the heart. calling in all of our ancestors and acknowledging the ancestors of the land that I am on. Here I am in Costa Rica, original Bree territory. So I am acknowledging the Bree people, calling them in, celebrating them, and acknowledging and honoring the original peoples of the land that each one of us is on. If you don't know the names of the traditional peoples that are the original peoples of your homeland, you can just acknowledge them in prayer and in essence and in spirit. Acknowledging the ancestors of all of the tribes of the rainforest of South America, the peoples that work with our Four Visions family and are opening bridges and sharing their wisdom with all of us, and all of us who are receiving medicines from these traditions are in relationship with these cultures and with their ancestors. So we are welcoming them in and acknowledging them and celebrating them, thanking them for all the work that they have done for their lineages and their peoples to safeguard the traditions, thanking them for the sharing of their wisdom and their ways, their open hearts. And acknowledging all the ancestors of all the indigenous peoples all over the world. Thanking them, honoring and celebrating their wisdom and all that they have seen, witnessed, heard. And we are opening our hearts in this moment to call upon the wisdom, the guidance, the counsel, the messages, the teachings, the prayers, the protection, the fortification, the strength, the courage, the healing, the sweetness, the soothing powers of all of our ancestors who we just named. To come and to be with us this time of great need in humanity's evolution. And we ask that our time here on this earth be spent in a good way. And we ask for the clarity and the discipline and the will to be vehicles of change and transformation for this human consciousness and the human race. And we pray to be protectors, guardians, safekeepers of our Earth Mother, so that we can play a role in the preservation and the healing of our Earth and all of her pristine natural resources. Envisioning and praying for the Earth Mother and her sustaining power, her resilience, and her profound strength. And we pray for you, our great mother, to be healed and for your children to remember what it means to live in relationship with you. And as we have called in our ancestors here into this space, I also want to pray for our children and for the next 7 generations to come. I am affirming, we are affirming here in this now, that we will overcome these challenges and we will find the way forward, remember, reclaim, return, and we will heal. We will heal in the name of all of our ancestors that have walked the earth before us, and we will heal in the name of our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren and the next 7 generations to come, the next 7,000 generations to come, that this earth will prevail, that the human species will remember how to tend to our hearts and to the heart of the earth, that we will remember the sacredness of all life, and that this sacred earth will exist for our grandchildren to inherit, and the earth will heal, the waters will clean, the air will be pure, the soils will replenish and regenerate. Our bodies will clean themselves and liberate ourselves from the chemicals and the toxicity that we have created, and the earth will too. We will liberate ourselves from the wars and the pain and the suffering. We will find a way back to the truth of love. We will find a way to return back to what it means to live in harmony with our brothers and sisters of the earth. We will discover and uncover the architecture and the design of how we as a human species may live in peace and harmony with each other and with all life, all creatures of the earth, with all elements of nature, with the spirits of life and nature, with all the beings that exist in the seen and unseen. Here we are in this prayer of affirmation, envisioning the world that we will leave for our children when the time comes for us to leave these physical bodies. Feeling what it will feel like when the earth has healed and when we have healed. Feeling what it will feel like when justice is restored, peace is restored, health is restored, vitality is restored. Thriving, 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 all life thriving. Affirming here and acknowledging that this is the truth, this is the way, this is the inheritance and the legacy that we are here to leave for the next generations, and that we ask in the name of our Creator, in the name of all life, in the spirit of the waters, in the spirit of the fire, in the spirit of the stars, the moon, the sun, the spirit of the mountains, in the spirit of the forest, in the spirits of the plants, the spirits of the animals. Affirming in the name of creation that we will accomplish this great task that is set forth and given to the human race at this time in humanity's evolution. Affirming and asking for courage, strength, bravery, vigilance, persistence, perseverance, dedication, commitment for each one of us, those of us who are here in this prayer and those of us who are like-minded, who may not be hearing this prayer but are here with us in spirit, that all beings of light, all beings that are committed to consciousness and evolution, attuned to and feel this affirmation in this moment here and now, and that all those beings, all of the people who have not yet remembered this truth, this inherent wisdom, that they wake up, that they remember, that they remove the cobwebs of their eyes so that they too can see and join us in this great fight and this great journey that we are all in together, and that we can all travel as a collective consciousness, the human race, and all life on the great canoe of life, the great canoe of consciousness, down the river of the sacred waters of life, back to the origin, back to our origin, back home, back home, back home, back home to the heart, to the one heart, to the one truth, the one consciousness, one spirit, one source, one, to the oneness. We are all one, returning to the oneness, letting go of the fear of separation and affirming we are all one. We are all in this together. We are all in this together. We are together. We are all together in this prayer. And so it is. Aho, Ashe, Amen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Gracias, 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 gracias. Sending all my love to each one of you. Thank you for being my brothers and my sisters on this path, on this journey. Thank you for all that you are and all that we are doing here together in this lifetime. I honor you. I honor you. I celebrate you. I thank you deeply. And I wish you many, many blessings. I wish you and your families many blessings of beauty and peace and prosperity, abundance and joy, togetherness, and sweet, sweet love and connection. May this holiday season be full of all of this joy for you and your loved ones, and may you feel the love of your Creator shining down upon you as a child of the earth and a child of God. Thank you for being part of our Four Visions family. Thank you for being part of my family. Thank you for being here today and for all your support for the work that we are doing and for our platform. I want to deeply thank you with a lot of humility and gratitude for your support of Four Visions. It means so much to all of us and to all of our indigenous partners and to all the work that we are getting to do together as a collective. We are doing wonderful things together thanks to you, and we are having an impact. And I want to just say thank you so, so much for doing this together with us. It means so much. And this is not goodbye. This is see you soon. And we will be back soon in the new year. We'll take a little break now over the coming months to replenish, to restore, to take this time of inward reflection that's so needed. And I look forward to connecting with you in 2025 through this platform. God bless you. God protect you. God guard you always. So much love. On behalf of the Four Visions family, we want to thank you for listening to our podcast. We hope you have enjoyed this conversation and have gained seeds of wisdom that will nourish your spiritual path. If you have a moment, please leave us a review, as this helps us to reach more people. For more resources and information about the plant path, and for the highest quality spiritual tools and botanicals, please visit us at fourvisions.com. We are grateful for your support and look forward to continuing this journey with you all. Until next time.